What's going on, guys? I hope you are having a great day out there, guys. So we took the Rlaarlo out for his last speed run. We hit 103 miles per hour. Super excited with the speed on this thing and how she controlled and even handled at those speeds. But on the second pass, we did have a little crash. We ended up breaking the front steering knuckle here. And the reason for that happened was not the car really, but the foam blew off the tires, you can see. So she had a little bit of damage. So I was getting ready to order some parts from Rlaarlo for this thing. I was going to get the new steering knuckle, maybe get the upgraded version, and kind of go over this thing. And a few other little upgrades I wanted to do with. I was thinking about putting the fan on the top of here or getting a different body. But then yesterday, a package showed up at my door. And I had no idea this was coming. At least I wasn't really informed. They said that, there's some parts. And I knew that there was a different kit that they were sending out to some people, but I didn't know who. Anyway, I got a whole new set of wheels and tires on this thing with I believe these are the aluminum rims, yeah. So I got a whole set on those. We have the fan for the top of the body to mount in there. Aluminum rear A-arms. And I mean, this just goes on. All the front and rear steering knuckles, all in the red anodized aluminum. Another set of drive shafts. Another front cushion, which is nice because I did kind of bang mine up pretty bad. We got the center diff mount, I believe is what this is. We got the upper front arms. The adjustable motor mounts, which is I'm really excited about because this was one thing I wished it came with that model originally because it makes it a lot easier to obviously adjust your pinion and your mesh with being able to get to the screws on top rather than having to come in from the face of it, which was kind of difficult. We got the front disc brakes and rotors for the front and rear. We got the carbon fiber bat wings. Another pinion, which I got to see what size this is. We might be chucking that on there. The upper tie rods, or the upper arms for it. Guys, you know me, I'm calling everything wrong. I got another receiver, and I'm not sure what the difference is. I'm not sure if we have to put this receiver in order to run the external fans, or if this is just an extra receiver. And also more of the front steering and upper A-arms. And this, which I'm not sure off the top of my head what this is for. But, at any rate, it's red, it's aluminum, and it's shiny. And also came along with it the very cool gold-plated 52-tooth spur gear with a chain. Kind of really nice looking. It's got the Rlaarlo printed in there. Really nice little touch. So, guys, what we're going to do today, I know we've been going on here for a minute, is going through and throwing a bunch of these upgrades on here. I'm going to be changing out the motor mount because I want to put that on there. We're obviously going to be changing out the front and rear hubs on this thing and putting aluminum ones on there. I don't want to add a ton more weight to it, but the car definitely is not going to hinder it, I think, putting a little bit extra weight on this to help keep it planted to the ground. Yes, it does make it slower a little bit, but at the same time, with more power, you need a little extra weight to help keep that thing planted. You don't want it too light because then they tend to float around. Even though this thing did stay planted to the ground very well at 103, which I was super impressed with. But anyway, guys, enough yakking. I'm not going to bore you with every single step. I'm going to go through and change out some different stuff, and I'll just show you along the way what everything looks like and how the car turns out. So stay tuned, everybody. Getting there, guys. Tearing this thing apart. We got one side done. We got the really cool looking disc brake and rotor on here and the new front aluminum hub. I'm working on the other side. Now, one little note, at least I noticed in my packet, the screws that come with the front hubs, the screws don't actually fit these, the top spindle holes or hub holes, whatever you're going to call them. They're actually the screws that fit screwing your disc brake to them. So from what I'm seeing so far, there isn't screws to attach this. Now, I have a ton of screws, so I just found the ones I needed. But just so you know, you'll notice that these screws don't fit in the holes. So you will need 4 of those. They might be correcting that in the packaging, or they might not even know. I'm going to let them know. But just figured to add that little note if you're adding yours on later. One other little side note, when you're putting this all together, you do have to put your drive shaft into your carrier, along with snapping on your disc brake first, and then installing the caliper. Because if you install the caliper first, you cannot get the disc in there or get everything to fit in there right. So you got to do the caliper last once all this is together. All right, both front hubs and rotors are done, and the new snazzy wheels. Now, obviously, these tires are not going to be good for 100+ mile/hour speed runs. I'm going to kind of drive the car around for a little bit and just have some fun ripping it around. My goal with this car was to hit 100 mile an hour. I hit 103, so I'm pretty satisfied right now. I'm not going after the speed run challenge and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. I'm just going to enjoy the car and kind of pimp it out a little bit now and have a little fun with it. All right, everyone. Well, we're moving on to the back end here. I got the whole rear end tore off of it here, and I'm taking off the old motor mount, which didn't like the adjustment on that thing. And we're going to install the new adjustable top motor mount. We're going to get the plate on here like your standard Armas and all that. We're going to change out the motor mount, and this other gear is bigger. Now, the one I had on, I think was a 40 tooth. I'm guessing that this has got to be 45, 48. I can't find any numbers on it just yet. If I find them, I'll let you know what it is, but it's definitely larger than the one that originally comes in the package with the car. But we're going to get the motor mount mounted up. I'm going to change out the rear hubs and maybe a couple other things, and I'll bring you guys back then. All right, well, we got the back end pretty much finished up. We got the new aluminum hubs, cool rotors and brakes, and also put on these side pieces right in here to kind of hover around the rear differential. I'm not sure what they're called, but I did install those. They were easy enough to change out. I am going to leave the A-arm still plastic. I'm trying to upgrade, mainly the aluminum stuff that is more have a tendency to break. I don't want to put everything on there right now. If I break the rear A-arms, then I'll change them. I'll put the aluminum ones on. But for now, I'm changing out the stuff that's important and a couple little, fancy items. But besides that, guys, she's looking pretty good, and I'm really excited about the new motor mount. But I'm going to go ahead and get the back end bolted back up on here, and then we're going to work on probably the body and getting the wings and the fan mounted up in there. All right, we got the back end all mounted back up again, and now we just got to get my mesh set on the new pinion with the new motor mount, which, guys, this is the most exciting part I put on this car, with being able to adjust and change your pinion out without having to remove this whole back end, because with the old setup with the screws going in here, made it really difficult. You pretty much had to pull the whole back end off in order to change out your pinion. Now, the worst I think you might have to do is pull this little side skirt off here, but now the whole motor can actually slide out the side, change your pinion, slide it back in. Makes life a lot easier. So if you do have a car that has the non-adjustable on the top, spend the $12 or whatever it is and get this motor mount. This is way better on their site. Makes life a lot easier. But we got all our nice little shiny fancy parts mounted up. At some point, guys, I am going to get probably a different ESC in here, because obviously this Traxxas one that's in here is monstrous. However, it did fit, as you can see. I mean, there wasn't much clearance, but she fit in there, and with the stock stuff on here, pushed it up over 100 mile an hour. So it might be the ugly thing, but she worked. Can't argue with that. Well, the disc brakes and rotors might not be necessity, but they certainly look really cool on here. Making the car look a little sharper, a little nicer. She's definitely pretty fast, pretty happy with the speeds on this thing so far. And with this new pinion, obviously I got to get some new foam tires and some better foam tires, because the ones I got seem like they're only good to about 103, 100 mile an hour in that area. And they start blowing apart. So I got to find some better foams, but we're all done with the car part now. Let's work on the body, get this thing, the cooling fan mounted up in here, and get the bat wings mounted up. Okay, well, we got the fan mounted up. Not my best work. I accidentally drilled the wrong holes at first, but she is all mounted up in there, and she's not going anywhere. So we got a little bit of cooling kind of hitting down in the back of the car where the motor and everything is, so that'll kind of help out, because as it sits in here, it'll blow the air directly down here into the motor area, which will definitely help cool it down a little bit. So, got that part finished up. We're going to go ahead and look at getting the bat wings hooked up on here. So, we'll see what these are like to mount. Hopefully, they're not too painful. All right, we got one wing mounted up on here. She fit up on here real nicely. Everything looks pretty good. I'm not exactly sure how far back or how forward these are supposed to be. I probably should have looked, but you know me, I just kind of wing it. Ha! Anyway, I figured I'd let you guys know how I was doing mine and made it easier. I got the placement I wanted. I put a few little drops of super glue on the body, got the wing lined up, and then let it dry for a minute. I clamped it down with a pair of vice grips real gently, so let it dry. And then around every hole, I would just put the vice grips in that area so that the screws stayed nice and lined up, and then drilled the hole, put the screws in, popped it off, and did the same along the way, and it worked out pretty well. We'll see how she works out. And this is what I meant in case you weren't sure. And I put the vice grip real close to the holes, drill these two holes, put the nut and bolts in those things, take those off, move to the next hole, and do the same thing. All right, well, we got everything all fitted up on here. We got the bat wings mounted up, we got the fan mounted up on here, and we got lots of other goodies mounted up inside. Got the new front knuckles, the cool little disc brakes and rotors on here on the front and rear. Got the new fully adjustable motor mount, which is just awesome. We got the rear hubs on here, and also the little plates that mount beside the rear differential that are aluminum. We got those mounted up on there, and everything fit great. And the only issue I had or complaint I have is this. Number one, there was no hardware to mount the fan. Not a big deal. I mean, I got tons of screws here, but there was no hardware to mount the fan up in the body, so I had to use my own hardware for that. And the hardware for the front knuckles, there was 4 screws in the package. However, the screws that were in the package were the wrong size, but those screws did fit and work for mounting the disc brakes on here. So the proper screws for mounting the actual hubs to your upper and lower A-arms were not in the package or not with it. Like, again, I had this hardware laying around, so not a big deal. Other people might have the hardware in there. I'm not sure if this was just earlier packaging, but that would be the only issue I had with it, was the screws missing for the front knuckles and the fan. But other than that, guys, everything fit up great, looks awesome, and the car has been performing amazing. And can't wait to take her out for a rip again. One other thing I did get, and I didn't even realize at first what it was, but it's a 2-piece drive shaft system with these little stabilizer in the middle. I didn't mount that up just yet. I'm going to run the full length center drive shaft. I don't know how that 2-piece exactly will work on high speeds. I'm kind of curious to see what some other guys have in there, or if they used it. But for now, I'm just going to run the whole solid length drive shaft and continue to run it like that. But guys, anyway, enough yakking. Got the Rlaarlo fixed up and got some good upgrades under. And we'll have her out for some more fun here very soon. But that's going to do it for this video. So until next time, y'all be safe. Be careful out there. Peace out, everybody.